modern Moderna building corner.
Andy, you're breaking up. I could barely hear you.
On the corner of the Columbia Pike and Walter Reed.
Yeah.
The building on the east side.
Yes.
That was heavily discussed, and there was quite a bit of discussion about it in regards to what was desired by, or what direction was. So I would suggest that we either discuss that before or after the meeting.
Well, why don't we do the two items and then we can talk about that.
Okay.
Okay, so do we have the urgent animal care of Arlington applicant on the line?
Yes, I am here. I'm Katie Cannon from 3877.
Perfect. Hi, very nice to meet you.
Yes.
So this is the corner. Oh, wait, sorry, I need to start the entire meeting. Apologies, I just did that wrong.
No worries.
Sorry. Okay, welcome.
Here's the boilerplate stuff.
Oh, welcome to the January 2023 Design Review Committee meeting. I'm going to call the roll to confirm that our DRC members are present. Amari Davis.
Here.
Robert Dudka.
Here.
Rebecca Meyer.
Here.
Andrew Wintry.
Here.
Right. DRC meetings are held in person and streamed simultaneously to allow commissioners, applicants, and the public to attend online. The meeting is available to stream from the county website. They make me say that, but obviously you know that if you're listening to the recording. So I don't know why they make me say that. There is a dial-in phone option if anyone needs to call in. So if you lose connectivity, feel free to call in by phone. Please keep your devices muted until your item is under review. Meeting chat is active for participants who need technical assistance. The public may observe the meetings, but participation in the discussion is limited to applicants and the members of the HLNP during this meeting. Public comment is welcome at the HLNP meeting. Information about signing up as a speaker or submitting a public comment for that meeting is available on the HLRB website. Lastly, this is a public forum. Today's meeting is being recorded and will be posted to the county website. All information associated with today's meeting, whether written or spoken, is subject to the Freedom of Information Act requirements. Okay, apologies. Now that we've done that, let's start with item number 1, which is a new sign at the Urgent Care Animal Care of Arlington. This is the former bank building. This is in the northeast corner of the 4-block of the commercial center of Buckingham. I think I mentioned it was formerly a bank. There is an application for 2 signs, which are going to be put in the locations where signs originally were. There's currently nothing here, and they are compliant with the Buckingham design guidelines. This is the facade, the northwest facade. Yes. And here they've submitted images of what they look like beforehand. Is there anything you would like to add, Ms. Cannon?
Not particularly. The signs are placed as you can see from the existing photos, kind of over where the original signs were, so that we don't have discoloration showing of the building. They do comply with the standards set forth in the Buckingham Shopping Center signage guidelines, and they are to match all of the existing signage on the rest of the building. The only other thing to note is that the electrical for the signs will be housed on the interior of the building. We have interior transformers that will be connected to the exterior signage.
I know this is just signage right now, but what is to be done about the ramp to the former teller machine or ATM machine?
So right now, there is nothing in the scope. Currently, the project, the client essentially needed to get an opening date and was not ready to go through historical review to make amendments to that facade and the storefront. So currently it is to remain as is.
So we may see something in the future, but right now you just want to get the signs up and the doors open.
Correct, yes. And we have already received our new build permit. I don't have that number with me, but we have been approved through Arlington County for our new build permit already. So construction is underway on the building.
Yeah, I think I signed off on that because it's all interior.
Yes, correct.
Let me ask a question. Are other signs in Buckingham have lighting behind them?
They do, which I thought was I was surprised at that as well, because initially I was a little bit confused about the neon, but they are all neon, and it is set forth in the guidelines that they are to be neon. They have the neon,
okay. And then so are the green stripes are neon?
Yes, correct.
The lettering is going to be backlit, or is that just paint?
No, so then the lettering is neon as well. This is a pretty crude rendering of what it would actually look like.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
But I think I provided quite a few of the existing photos. And if you look at the other signage on the building, you'll see that the letters are lit. It's like a lit black box with the neon stripes and the lit.
Right. Yeah.
Letters.
Yeah.
Is the logo backlit, or is the logo also neon? Little cat, I think it's a cat maybe or something logo.
Yeah, so that's their like little dog and cat. I don't know the answer to that question. I would have to get in touch with the signage manufacturer to confirm. It should be from a design standpoint.
I see. And you can actually see.
Sorry, Robert, continue.
Go ahead. No, I was just going to say you can actually see in the rendering that you can actually see the neon tubes. It's pretty detailed.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, okay. Well, let me let's see. I guess it's pretty consistent with all the other signs on the building. With the double green stripe at each end and then the white in between. There doesn't seem to be a standard for fonts, so
The only comment I had, and I know on the proposed signage view from Glebe Road, it aligns with the storefront edges, but then on Pershing, it extends further, and it's like it goes further to the sides than the existing. And I know part of that is just due to the length of the name, but wasn't sure if any other alternatives were studied or looked at to try to reduce the width.
So they were not. What I will say is that what we have submitted is not a specification that I have created. It is what the owner has worked with the signage manufacturer to come up with and basically given to me to submit.
Yeah, because that does look a little weird. All the others are confined to the area above the awning, and in this one place, it comes out, beyond the awning. I understand that they took the logo out to make it even a little bit less wide, just to make it fit between the lights.
And I don't know.
Yeah, that looks a little weird. I don't know what does everybody else think about that?
Could I comment? I mean, it seems to me that the signage goes over the entrance, and there's no entrance on Pershing to the building, and that's why I called into question what was to be done about the ramp up to the former ATM location.
Yeah, and the reason the sign is on this side of the building is that they want traffic from all directions to be able to see the signage.
And historically, there was a sign. If you see you can see there did used to be a sign there.
Yeah.
I mean, we do not have any 2-level signs in Buckingham. So in terms of, given the length of their name, I can't think of another solution because we don't have anything that has 2 rows of lettering. If they were to make the lettering narrower, they would also have to make it smaller. Then it would be smaller font on the same size sign because the sizes of the signs are consistent. So I can't think, unless we allowed them to just do urgent animal care.
I was going to say either that or animal care of Arlington, leave the urgent part off.
It's their title.
It is, yeah, it is the business name.
I think most people, if they are, having had experiences with pets and, needing, most people know where they're taking their pet. They look it up online. They're not, what they're looking for is as they're, frantically trying to take their pet somewhere to be, to have someone see them because there's some problem. They're looking for, they know roughly where they're going. They just need to see a sign that says, oh, that's it right there. So I'm not sure it needs to have the full name, as long as it's clear that it's either urgent animal care or animal care of Arlington. And then, when you see that, and then you pull into the parking lot and you come around and you see, oh yeah, it is urgent animal care of Arlington, because the full name is on the front. So I'm not sure that you need the full name on the side, because that really does kind of violate the standard of, all the other signs are confined to the area between, above the awning. And I think if you did either animal care of Arlington or urgent animal care, you could fit it in, and it would probably be enough for somebody that, basically already knows where they're going to know, oh, there it is. And then they pull into the parking lot, and then they confirm when they see the front. So I don't know how the applicant, how the business feels about that, but to me, that would be a better solution than the sign as it's proposed.
I have one thought about the name. So I feel like urgent animal care for me personally feels a little bit like it makes the most sense. I don't know what the hours of the business are, but if you're in past experience with my pets trying to find care, urgent to me indicates that they might be open at off hours. So that's the only point I wanted to make on that.
My concern with animal care of Arlington, if you look at it, it already appears to be the same width as the awning. So it sounds to me like you would like it to remain the length of the awning, and I'm trying to see. So let's see where the shadow was. So the shadow was a little bit past the awning. Are you willing? Do you want to take it to the shadow line or to the?
No, I think, Serena, I think that's just how, when they took the sign off and somebody, power washed it or something, they went a little bit past. I bet you if we looked at, and we could confirm this by looking at historic photos, I bet you would find that the sign stayed above the awning. I don't know if you have them available to you now to see what the bank sign was.
The ones for the bank. Okay, so as Ms. Cannon said, she is just submitting this, so she actually doesn't know. However, we allow people to update drawings and submit them back to us. You have up to a week to get us changed drawings, and so you could go back to your client and ask, how do you feel about this? And if they could get us some mock-ups in the next week, or if they say, no, we want to continue with the drawings that we have, then they can go forward to the HLRB, and the DRC would just submit these comments as part of the discussion at the full meeting. So those are the two options that you have.
Okay, can you really fast just let me know when that next meeting is for the HLRB?
So the HLRB is 2 weeks from today, but the deadline for updated documents is next Wednesday.
Got it.
So 1 week.
Right, and let me just interject that I agree with what Serena said. This is kind of the practice that we've adopted, but the HLRB, we are we are an advisory committee to the full board. They tend to take our recommendations seriously. So I would suggest that you suggest, as opposed to just saying, oh no, we want the whole thing. I think the full board is likely to support the comments of the DRC. So if they can live with the thing above the awning, they should seriously consider that. Is what I'm saying.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I will, we have a check-in call tomorrow, so I'll communicate all of this to them. I do have one follow-up question specifically regarding the comment of the logo being lit versus not lit. I think that the preference, both from myself and from the board, would be that the logo with the like little dog and the cat on it is also backlit. Can you just confirm that for me so I can confirm that with the signage manufacturer?
Yeah, I don't think anybody had a problem with that.
Okay.
No, it'll flip together. Other versions have other backlit things as well, so it doesn't bother me.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think in this, in this particular case, I think it's actually, assuming they have extended hours, I think it's important, particularly, like around now in the winter, that you be able to see the sign. So, so I don't think anybody has a problem with that.
Okay.
I'd still like to raise a question to Andy. First of all, when was put on Buckingham Village? When was the Buckingham shopping complex? When was it put on list?
When was it designated as a local historic district?
Because my question is, if we have a new use, and I think this has been this way with the granite panels for a long time, but this isn't the original Buckingham frontage. It's atypical of what's the rest of Buckingham Village. And I'm wondering whether there's a new owner, and especially a change in use, whether it would be appropriate to restore this at that point to its original condition.
So I know because a different tenant tried to come to us for a coffee shop last year, and we spoke with them, and the red marble is called out as character defining in the designation report.
Okay.
Yeah, I recall seeing historic photos with the red granite there.
And well, the other confusing point I still see is, unless there's going to be an ATM machine for some reason or other, that whole ramp and that whole piece is misleading to the public and probably ought to be brought back to some semblances. You've got a ramp that goes up to essentially for no particular purpose. It's certainly not a building entrance because grade is established by the front entry, and that's basically the floor level inside. So I find that I'm just questioning whether this isn't an opportunity or whether it shouldn't be restored to its former appearance, at least the ATM machine.
We can certainly ask, but since they're not touching the exterior, I don't like, we can suggest this, but I do not think we can ask for it since they're not touching the exterior.
Yeah, they will not be open to that unless, and given that it's technically their lease is for the interior of the space, not the exterior of the building. And the signage is what is you know, required by the landlord and by the shopping center. I would say that unless you guys can convince the landlord to make those updates, the client will not be up.
Yeah.
That's
They
fine.
won't be open to it.
I was just going to say that this sounds like a landlord issue that we should,
Yes.
you know, perhaps you can take those comments back and just say, you know, we would like somebody to think about, you know, given that this is now being leased for something other than a bank with a automatic teller, that, you know, they should think about getting rid of the ramp. It would make, you know, it would make the, yeah, because it's weird. I mean, I agree with Andy, but I also agree that the tenant is probably doesn't feel any responsibility to deal with it.
Yeah. Yeah. We had initially in our talks with them, we had encouraged them to go through the review process to restore the storefront panels that are currently blacked out. And unfortunately, they weren't open to it, both for timing and budgetary purposes.
Right.
Okay, so you have all my contact information, so follow up with me to let me know how you're going to be proceeding. As I said, you have until Wednesday next week, end of day, to get me those updated drawings.
Okay.
And so it sounds from the discussion that this will end up on the discussion agenda.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, no, it could be on consent if they agree to the, you know, to the signage comments that we've made, and got you the information, you know, the revised drawings showing, you know, showing a reduced size sign. I don't see why this couldn't be on consent.
Okay. So then I will, depending on what you get me by Wednesday, I will let you and the commission know whether this is going on consent or discussion.
Great. That sounds amazing. Thank you all for your time and valuable discussion around this. I greatly appreciate it. And I will touch base with you, Serena.
Okay. Thank you so much, Ms. Cannon.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Thank you.
This is our second and final agenda item. So this project came to last year. It is an addition on the rear of 2309 North Kenmore. And in the hyphen of the non-historic rear addition, the plans had been to put in a wooden side door, and now they are applying, due to shortages, to put in a fiberglass side door with, it's a quarter glass 6-light door. So let me zoom into that so everyone can see it. Mr. Sarley or Mr. Scholl, do you have any additional comments?
No, I think you covered it. That's it. So I think, yeah, there's sort of a sequence of asks or comment or, you know, sort of changes that we're bringing up. So the first one is this one with the door being quarter glass 6-light. And then I had, and then of course, fiberglass versus wood because of its sort of wet location. The other thing is the front door. I sort of had the wrong door, so that's a bit of an apology and a bit of a correction. It's a quarter glass 8-light on the front that's existing, and that is to remain. And there is a slight little ask on that, if we could possibly also have that be the exact same door, but in fiberglass, if we could replace that. So those are the sort of 3 requests or changes.
So you're asking now for a fiberglass front door?
Possibly. That's sort of on yes.
Okay. This is a change from the email you sent me?
It is. Okay. Sorry about that last minute change.
And this is on this is on the existing structure on the front?
Yes. Correct.
And this front door has already been moved from, it used to be a side entrance, and now it has been moved.
Correct.
What is the proposed finish of the fiberglass door? Is it still a wood look?
Yes, it would be painted.
is there a cut sheet of finishes that can be provided? I'm just curious of what the finish options are if wood is typical. I know fiberglass comes in a wood look.
which is rather.
Right.
Before we get into the details, why don't we talk about, like, I think from the front, I don't think the guidelines allow us to approve a fiberglass door. So that's, I mean, Serena, can you confirm that, or?
So fiberglass is mentioned in reference to sheds and garages because it's in Appendix G, which is the most recent update. It is not mentioned as a suitable material in the main guideline for historic structures, just because it didn't even come up and it is not listed as one of the appropriate materials. So it doesn't outright say you can use fiberglass, but it is not listed as appropriate. I don't know that we've approved a fiberglass door for the front of a home ever, not a contributing one.
Right. I mean, I think it's pretty much follows whatever windows. It's like if you I don't, and I'm not sure that I'm sympathetic to the argument that the side door is is in a damp location, because it shouldn't be. I mean, your door should not be subject to moisture. That's not that's not good practice. So I see no reason why if the guidelines allow fiberglass on the side, then we can talk about it. But as far as I know, they don't. What on the addition are we those are wood windows, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm not sure. I don't think we've ever approved fiberglass doors, either on the front or on an addition. And I think the rule pretty much follows with windows.
I mean, this door, Robert, is in a entrance to, the basement, so it is lower on the elevation, and there's drainage in front of it, but that this door, it will be more damp down there just because of its lower location.
Right.
And it's also completely hidden from the street. It's tucked behind the corner of the house in a niche area. So and
it's new.
And it's
in
a
new
new
location,
door.
right.
Yeah,
Right.
It's not part of the original structure. We
I know,
would
but-
like to make a
but-
plea for this door here, given the fealty we've had throughout the process to making design changes and working with the committee.
Well, I mean, I think we're somewhat bound by the guidelines. I mean, it's the guidelines have, Serena, correct me if I'm wrong, the guidelines specifically talk about areas where we can consider something other than wood, which is, usually, if I'm not mistaken, it's trim, particularly like fascias, the drips, around the bottom of the building and so forth, things that but I don't think we've ever approved a fiberglass door. Do you know if we have?
I would have to look it up. The only example where I think is possible is there was a major renovation of an entirely non-contributing house on Edgewood in the last 18 months. I could look that up, but otherwise, I mean, we have only recently started approving the replacement even of wooden doors. There is no mention of fiberglass in the design guidelines outside of Appendix G and their reference. I think the material where you're thinking about specific uses, PVC is identified for use in some window casings and other uses, but I don't have it for fiberglass in the design guidelines.
But it's interesting because I think even where PVC is allowed for window casings, it's not allowed for windows per se. I'm just sticking I'm not trying to apply any, sort of, personal opinion about this. I'm just going strictly by the guidelines here and what we are allowed to do under the guidelines and what we have approved previously under the guidelines, because because then this becomes a precedent, and then so that and if it's a precedent setting issue, then it would have to go before the full board, I think. And it's, I think I know in general, the discussion on the front of the house has always been wood, and that's even recent, we've had a few recent cases where people have come forward asking for fiberglass doors, and we've said no. So I would think that for the front, the answer is definitely no. On the side, there might be a little bit more leeway, but I'm not sure, what a close reading of the code of the guidelines says.
Are there comments?
Does anybody else on the DRC have any thoughts about this?
Yes, can we see a site plan? This isn't a
yes.
corner lot.
No, it's an inside lot.
Okay.
So I could.
Can we still, because the windows or whatever, it almost looks like.
I can pull up the previous plans. Let me do that. Let's see. So this is just the current site plan, but let me pull up. Is this what you were looking for? Or do you want it with the land?
Okay.
This giver. So any questions from you?
I was concerned about where the
Yeah, so it is
windows
set
are,
back from the original structure.
setback or whatever, so site plan helps. I really would see a site plan to start with. Because asking the question. Thank you.
Do you have any thoughts you want to weigh in with?
I don't have anything, just the price and unavailability of the door to get this house finished so we can get in it. It's that door is out of view. It'd never be seen by anybody. So I'm not real sure what the contention is with why it couldn't be fiberglass. The door, you can't tell it's fiberglass.
Right. Way back, it used to be so hard to find a bungalow door. And now you can actually get them commonly, which was exciting to me because I had a hard time getting a bungalow door back in the 80s when I did my house in Maywood.
Yeah, if getting the door is the issue, one idea might be to find or to find a used door at like an architectural supply warehouse. I know there's some in Baltimore and different areas. And obviously that's not as easy as obviously buying it off the shelf, but that might be one way to get the wood door in there and sort of satisfy the precedent in there to also get the wood door. That's satisfies the precedent.
So what is the consensus then of the committee? I'm not sensing a lot of opposition to fiberglass, but I just don't think we can do it without. I mean, we can make a recommendation to the full board, but I think this is a precedent-setting issue that the full board would have to weigh in on. It's because it's one of these things. It's a slippery slope. It's like if every time an element is not within easy view of the street, it can be fiberglass or plastic. Then that pretty much means that whole chunks of additions and things could be considered to be out of view. So therefore, you can do whatever you want vis-a-vis the code. I mean, the guidelines. I think we still have to adhere to the guidelines because we are a zoning board. We're not allowed to really make decisions on our own. We need to decide whether the guidelines allow us to do this and know that if we do this, that somebody else is going to ask for the same thing. And then you start to get into a subjective, well, what is visible from the street versus, like a statement like nobody will ever see it. It is subjective. It's like how far back on the house. I understand this isn't a niche, but how far back before nobody can see it. So it's not as straightforward as that. So I think if the DRC, I'm happy to have it go to the full board and have the full board have a discussion about it, because I know we've been incrementally having this discussion about what it's obvious that it's becoming more and more difficult to to provide building elements that don't involve some sort of synthetic materials. So it's I know that that's just a reality of life to a certain degree, but nevertheless it is something that the board needs to weigh in on, I think.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think especially the front door, given that it's in the original structure, I would lean towards that remaining wood. The side door I could go either way on, but if you have to get one wood door, what's the difference with getting two? But I don't know if anyone else has any thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you brought that up, Rebecca, because I think if you can get one, you can also get two, and I know there are a number of companies available. I mean, it may not be within your time frame. Unfortunately, I understand that some of these things have long lead times, but at the same time, the board it isn't we are, just because this has come in as a late change doesn't mean that we are under any obligation to help the applicant make their schedule. I mean, it's just it's just the way it is. We have our review process, and if this is a problem that came up at some point in construction, either it should have come to us sooner, or we can't change out. That's not a criteria for us that that we can't get the door within the time frame that we want. That's because the way in terms of once something is built, nobody knows whether you put it there because you had to do it on a short time frame or not. It is what it is. And then at some point somebody say, well, my neighbor has a fiberglass door, why can't I have one? So I don't think we can that isn't an argument that we can even consider. So I think if we want to consider the issue of whether in a relatively non-visible location, potentially with the argument about it being more damp in that area, I think that's something for the full board. I'm not Otherwise, my inclination would be to say it needs to be wood. If you wanna challenge it, then you need to come see the full board.
Can I just clarify a few issues?
Yeah.
So the front door is slightly different than the side door. So the front door, we are committed to essentially reusing the existing door. And we're going to remill it so that it goes from a left hand to a right hand. We just wanted to ask if it was feasible to change to a fiberglass, but there's no schedule issue on that.
Right.
You know, we're fine. On the side door, it's a little bit of a lead time. We have a door there in place now, so and it's a fiberglass. So we're essentially asking to keep that door permanently. That's the request, you know, just to put it in context. So we're not trying to like work you guys into our construction schedule at all, just to be totally clear. And just because it's slightly lower, it's slightly more wet. That's the only thing that we would do. But you know,
so okay, so there is no issue. You know, there's no issue about moving into the house. There's a door there. So the issue is whether you could keep this door. And again, I think given the guidelines, we've never approved. I don't think we've ever approved it. So as a wood door. So if you want to pursue this, I think you're going to have to come to the full board.
Well, could I just interject? I think that there's a view from the street, which is one thing, but there's also the neighbor's view on either side of this. So, I mean, I think that is part of the consideration, but it looks like from the side is probably secondary to what it looks like from the street view, but I still think that that's an issue. I agree with you. I think if you're going to change, it's essentially a change to the guidelines that you're going to have to ask for at the full board.
So Leo, is that enough to go on? I think it's, I think if you want to pursue this, it sounds like the consensus of the DRC is that you're going to have to come to the full board.
Yeah, I think we're going to have to go back and, you know, gather the team and coordinate and figure out what to do. But I think it is an interesting conversation, right? If this new material is something that, you know, the guidelines can adapt. So I totally understand where you guys are coming from, and I think it is a worthy conversation. Let us go back to our team, get together and let you know if we're going to apply. I'll coordinate with Serena on an application, get cut sheets and whatnot, and see if it's something we want to pursue or if we'll punt on it and, you know, have this fiberglass conversation at a different project.
Right. If you do decide to pursue it, I think what Rebecca was starting to get at earlier is, you know, I think some of these, as you know, like the same thing with hardy plank, you know, we do not approve it. We tend not to approve anything that has like embossed wood grain on it.
Yeah.
You know, so keep that in mind. If you do want to come forward with something that it shouldn't have artificial wood grain, because, you know, the reality is if you took a fiberglass door and painted it, it is somewhat difficult to see unless you can see an embossed wood grain and then you know it's fiberglass. So, so keep that in mind.
Okay,
for sure.
All right.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
And thus ends our official agenda.
Now, Andy, you wanted to talk about something.
Well, you weren't at the board meeting, and what's the name of the property?
Do you mean 2801 Columbia Pike? 2801 Columbia Pike, the Elkins building?
Elkin?
Elkins.
Is this at Walter Reed and Columbia Pike?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the streamlined modern.
Right.
It's currently a frame gallery.
Right.
At lower level, and we had quite a bit of a discussion, and I think that the problem boils down to whether you move building front on Columbia Pike and then also on Wilson to accommodate a bus stop, freestanding or whatever. And I think our opinion, we talked about this previously, nearly a year ago, I guess, was that the facade should stay in place on both Columbia
Right.
Pike. And
But the county agreed to that.
well, no, they're changing things. They want to accommodate this bus stop, and they want to push the storefront or the first and second story, if you will, of this back. They want more sidewalk space on Columbia Pike, and that's something that this building is an older building, and they've changed the standards, if you will, on Columbia Pike. They want a wider sidewalk. And they want it also, and the suggestion we made was that the bus stops be incorporated in the facade, build the facade to its current location. And there's precedent for this. You can put indents into the storefront on the first floor level and shield people from the rain. And instead of eating up all this space to push it back, you're going to take less space from the first floor that way than you would otherwise. And if you need to, cantilever.
No, I understand all that. I understand. I thought we wanted to have
this.
Huh?
So I think the county wants to pursue a completely different thing. And what the discussion was with the full board that this go back for further study. And I expected we might have heard about it.
So yes, so
I don't think we can discuss this.
because we didn't advertise it. And the applicant isn't here. However, they are coming back to us. They're coming back for another review. We checked with Lauren. They're not coming back this month, but they will come back. She thinks it's going to take a little bit given the amount of feedback from the HLRB. It is reported if you want to listen to our meetings. I post them online. But it's a good time.
I think, however, I would appreciate personally if you could look into our discussion, and I think I tried to convey your views as well, but see what you think.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with you completely, Andy. There was a precedent. One of the precedents is I forget the name of the project, but it's the building that's at Highland, Washington, and 11th, and particularly there's the historic buildings at the corner of 11th and Highland. There's now a barbecue place in it, and they wanted to move the building so that they could widen the sidewalks. It was exactly the same sort of thing, and we basically said, no, you're not going to move the historic building. The historic building's relationship to the sidewalk is what it is, and deal with it. And we did prevail in that case. They did not move the building facade, even though they deconstructed it and put it back, I think. And I really think that this is a really terrible precedent, that where you move buildings around because somebody wants to put a bus stop in. There are many ways to put a bus stop in that don't involve moving buildings. I mean, I don't think anybody anywhere in Europe would ever, they would laugh at you if you said, well, we want to move the building so we can put a bus stop in. It's like, figure out a different way to put the bus stop in. It doesn't need to be right there.
I know you can have this conversation offline, but I don't think we can have this conversation here. Sorry.
Well, this is offline. I mean, I know you're probably still recording, but.
Yes, because the meeting hasn't ended. And if there's this many people in a room who are members of the commission, it's a public hearing, whether or not it's recorded.
No, but I will say this at the full HLRB, and I believe I said it the last time it came up. I think this is an issue that from a historic there's in planning, there are there are priorities, and you work according to a hierarchy of priorities, and and they have to do with how flexible various things are. Buildings have historic buildings have a relationship to their environment that is integral to the whole concept of it being a historic structure. So it isn't the first thing you change, it's the last thing you change.
I don't disagree with you, but I didn't advertise this to the public.
Okay,
and therefore
fine. We'll
we'll have
stop
to-
talking about it. Andy brought it up, so.
I know.
Wait.
Try not to break any laws, people.
Well, can you stop recording and we can talk about it? No, we can't because
No,
there's
'cause it's
many
a
of us.
public meeting.
No.
As soon as there are this many of you in a room.
No, I agree. You're absolutely right to bring that up. We'll have to break up and have this conversation 2 at a time. But
Exactly.
Exactly, yeah, that's the rule.
Okay.
so wait, who is chair now?
I'm chair.
Amari, that's what I thought. Okay.
Oh, wait, chair, not of the DRC.
No, not DRC.
He is the
no,
chair.
No, the
of
full
HAL.
board. That's what I'm asking.
Not of the DRC.
Yeah.
That's why you're supposed to be chastising us about this right now.
Yeah, I tried. I need
I
my.
keep people on the straight and narrow. That's why.
Yeah, exactly. Stop talking about this.
Are you calling the meeting to order? Yeah, okay, all right.
Sure.
He's adjourning the meeting. I'm stopping the recording.